I'm walking through a ghost town, y'all ain't playing my sounds. Don't tell me to calm down, don't tell me to calm down. Only time I go backwards is when I wanna moonwalk. Don't test me, my mood's wrong, don't test me, my mood's wrong. We are who we say that we are. You were lost in the stars, and it's all from the start. Never running no pace, never on the right page. But we still read that book, and we still run that race. Ay. Mississippi Racer riding out, no shortcuts, no time for that. Mississippi Racer riding out till the wheels fall off, I'm driving that. Mississippi Racer riding out, we'll stop burning, strike the match. Mississippi Racer riding out, red light, green light, red light, good night. Ay. Red light, green light, red light, good night. 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 Time to chill, don't sweat it.
Good morning and welcome. This is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network. Thank you so much for making us part of your morning routine, whether you're watching us live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or on Roku TV. Thanks to the fine people over there at Northeast Sports Productions. I am Chris, and of course, that over there, that is Mo. Mo, happy Wednesday, sir.
Happy Feel Good Wednesday to everybody out there listening. Welcome, welcome, and welcome again.
Mo, we're going to start with some NBA stuff. And I woke up this morning and said, I'm just going to throw a bunch of NBA stuff at Mo and not tell him where we're going and just kind of get his blind reaction to it. And Mo, that's what we're going to do right now. We are going to rank the last 10 NBA finals, okay? But the good news for you is they're already ranked. So I'm just going to start going through and giving you the order for which they're ranked. And you're just going to react to, is the next one better than the last? That's all. So once you see one where you're like, nope, that wasn't better than the previous ones, it shouldn't be that high, you can tell us why. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
All right, we're going to start this list with what is deemed to be the worst NBA Finals matchup in the last 10 finals, and that was from 2020. That was the Lakers and the Heat in the bubble. So let's start with the floor. Do you think that when this all shakes out, you're going to agree that that was the worst finals of the last 10 years?
I think that's ranked properly. I'm going to have to agree.
Okay. So next up, right above that, is the Bucks and the Suns from 2021. Any issue there?
So far, the list is holding up.
Right above the Bucks and the Suns from 2021, we have the Heat and the Mavs from 2006. Was that series better than the Bucks and the Suns and the Lakers and the Heat?
I think it was. I know that Dallas ended up winning the last 4 games or losing the last 4 games, but it was a 6-game series, and it was really highlighted by a dynamic performance by Dwayne Wade. That was like his coming out series. So yeah, I'm going to rank that over those two.
Okay. Next up is 2008 Celtics Lakers.
I don't know if that's a bad series. It was.
Well, it's not a bad series. It would be 10, 9, 8, 7. 7th of the last 10 years.
I mean, it was a 7-game series, right? Am I wrong? Did it go 7 or was it 6?
I think it was 6.
Okay. Was it a bad? I'm biased. And it's a Celtics Lakers matchup. I guess it is where it is until I hear what's ahead of it, right?
Okay, that's fair. Well, the first thing that's ahead of it is 2015 Warriors Cavs.
No, I would rank that series ahead of that because of that was the Warriors coming out that entire season. Steph, the MVP, the whole 9. Yeah, that I would rank that ahead. I would. I'm fine with that.
Next up is 2000.
Wait. I'm sorry. Let me rewind. We're talking about in terms of what is the worst matchup, right? That is the argument.
Entertainment value. Overall entertainment value of the series.
No, I still think Celtics Lakers is better than that one.
Okay. All right. So that's our only issue so far. Mo's only issue so far is the 2008 Celtics Warriors being ranked 7th. The 7th best finals of the last 10 years. He already thinks it should be higher than Warrior and Cavs. How about this one? Above the Warriors and Cavs from 2015 is the 2005 matchup, Spurs-Pistons.
See, people remember that because it went 7, but that was also one of the series that was a big part of why they changed the rules. That was an ugly series. See, you can't have it both ways. They hated the way the style of play was, but then you can turn around and say, "Well, it's one of the great matchups." Yeah, I remember Rasheed Wallace over rotating and Ori hitting a big shot, but that was an ugly series. Like competitive wise, it was a great series, but it was an ugly series. I wouldn't rank it that high.
Would you have it below Warriors, Cavs, and Celtics, Lakers?
I wouldn't have it below Warriors. Here's the thing about Warriors Cavs. People forget that Kyrie and Kevin Love didn't play, and you can give LeBron and company credit for making a 6-game series, but it was stale. Remember, Cleveland started 3 big men because they wanted to slow the game down, and they walked the ball up, and all LeBron did was crab dribble the whole series. It was so boring. I don't know how many people remember Matthew Dellavedova basically doing his best WWE on Steph the first couple of games. It was not an exciting game. It could have been, but it was not an exciting series.
All right, so that Spurs Pistons would be the 5th best finals of the last 10 years. The 4th best would be 2011 Mavs and Heat.
It's funny how they rank it so high, and it started off like it was going to be a great series, and then the last 4 games wasn't so great, right? It wasn't that great. I think for the entertainment value, it was a big deal. It was the big 3 in the finals versus Dirk and company. So I'm actually fine with that being there because I think that is one of the greatest upsets of all time. That was just Dirk. That was just Dirk and some dudes.
The third one is 2013 Heat Spurs.
That was a great series. I have no argument there. That was a great series. It had a lot of drama, a lot of great shot making. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
The second one is 2010 Lakers Celtics.
That was a great series. No argument there. I'm with it.
And then, according to this, the best series of the last 10 years was 2016 Cavs Warriors.
That was not the best series of the last. What the hell are you talking about? How was that the best series? Did I miss something? Didn't they beat them? That's the first matchup, Cavs Warriors, right?
No, that was the second one.
That wasn't any better. You still lost in 5 games. It's not a great series. If it's entertainment value of watching the Warriors wax the Cavs, I guess it's not a great series. That should rank at the bottom.
Oh, I like a fiery Mo in the morning, Mo. Let's pivot here. We're gonna stay NBA. We teased this yesterday. We're gonna talk about some landing spots for some NBA players. We're going to go through. I'm going to give you a player, and then I'm going to give you what has been deemed their best landing spot and their worst landing spot. And I want you just to react to those 2 things. All right.
Sure.
So we're going to start with Paul George. And the perceived best landing spot for Paul George is the Orlando Magic. Agree or disagree?
I certainly think they could use him. But I disagree. That's the best landing spot for Paul George. If you add Paul George to the Orlando Magic, are they better? Yes. Are they title contenders? Absolutely not. So if you're Paul George, I guess is it Paul George is a good move for you? Only if they're going to give you the max contract, you want the money. But if you're trying to compete for titles, your career ends there. Like if he goes to Orlando, the last few words behind that will be, and he was never heard from again.
It's not that bad down there in Orlando, Mo.
No, I'm just talking about in terms of when we start talking about title contender. They're not a title contender. They're not. And he doesn't make them a title contender. He just makes them better than what they are now.
Is there any landing spot for Paul George that we considered worse than the Detroit Pistons?
I guess you could say Charlotte.
Fair. That's fair.
You can say Charlotte. That's it. I would say that's a history of worse. So yeah, Charlotte would be bad. Look, I think the best landing spot for him if he's not going to remain with the Clippers, would be a team that's ready-made to compete, like the Sixers or the Knicks, something of that nature. That would fit him, and he could fit them because of his skill set.
Let's talk Brandon Ingram. Best landing spot for Brandon Ingram, the Minnesota Timberwolves.
I don't think that's actually a bad move because it would give the Timberwolves another shot maker, another shot creator. And in that system, on that team, I think Brandon Ingram can come in there and be probably what he's meant to be. And that's a 3. I think he's more of a third option. He really is. So I think that would be a great fit.
Worst spot, the Atlanta Falcons. Not Falcons, Hawks. I got football on the brain. We got Gene coming on the show today.
That's what it is. It's football. Yeah, I don't see what Brandon Ingram would bring to the Hawks or what the Hawks would bring to Brandon Ingram other than misery. So no, you don't want to go there.
If you could circumnavigate the best landing spot for him outside of the Timberwolves, is there a better spot?
I like the Timberwolves. Look, they couldn't do it because I don't think they have the assets to pull it off. But I think he'd be a great fit in Denver in a different role. I think he'd be a great fit in Denver. So, yeah.
Donovan Mitchell, best landing spot, Los Angeles Lakers.
On paper, yeah, I would agree that's a great landing spot. I mean, if you're D Mitch, you want to compete for titles. I don't know if Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Donovan Mitchell make you a title contender. It certainly makes you a contender, right? On paper, right? You're a playoff contender. Are you a title contender? And if you're Donovan Mitchell, he plays so much on the ball, Chris. I don't know if he's going to be used to the idea of spotting up or playing off the ball so consistently because and I know LeBron's going to dribble the air at the ball. So I don't know how happy he would be as a Laker.
Let's talk Karl Anthony Towns. Best landing spot, the Atlanta Hawks.
I think that would be an interesting change. I'm assuming he would go in there. They're moving out guys like Capella and Okonwe, and they're going to go with somebody who can stretch the floor. Yep. Assuming you're keeping Trae Young and you're going to space the floor more, yeah, I think he would be a good fit for Atlanta and give them a completely different look.
And then speaking of Trae Young, best landing spots, Los Angeles Lakers. Now, I don't know why we got Young and Mitchell both going to LA.
Everybody's going to the Lakers.
I think a Laker fan is kind of trying to maneuver this here. But let's start. We'll answer that question first. What do you think of his fit in LA?
I don't think it's a good fit. Again, I'm trying to envision it from the Lakers' point of view. Trae Young's a ball dominant player. LeBron's a ball dominant player. Something's got to give. And what doesn't change is he's not an efficient player, and he gives you nothing defensively. So I think I don't see LeBron James wanting to play with a Trae Young or Trae Young fitting with what the Lakers are trying to do. I think Trae Young needs to go somewhere where they play more up tempo and where he has the freedom to dominate the ball. Like I honestly believe the best spot for Trae Young is where he is right now.
So looking at the Lakers, and obviously like the 76ers, so many names are attached to the Lakers. Is it possible we see the Lakers make a move where they're looking for the future without LeBron? So if they bring in someone like a Trae Young, can the argument be made, well, it may not be the best when LeBron is here, but if LeBron's only going to be here for another year, this could be the start of the rebuild after LeBron. So the question then doesn't become, what does Trae look like with LeBron? The question becomes, what does Trae look like with Anthony Davis? What does Trae look like with Anthony Davis and someone else that they could bring in after LeBron is gone from this team? Could that be any part of the thinking process if you're the Los Angeles Lakers? Because there is going to be a time when LeBron James is not on this team, and it could be as soon as next season or the season after that.
So I agree with you. He's going to leave. And I've been saying all along, they should already be making moves for the future. So I'm in agreement in the concept, but let's live in the reality of who LeBron is. Everything is about right now. Everything is about him right now. He doesn't really care about your future. He cares about the right now. So if Trae Young is somebody he actually wants and truly wants, they'll go out and get him. But if it's somebody that he doesn't want, they're not going to get him. Here's why. LeBron's opting out. So if you make a move that he doesn't like, that he goes, I don't even want that. Guess what he can do? He can walk, and he will. He'll walk. The way the Lakers are is they cater to stars. Whatever LeBron wants, he gets. If they actually end up signing Trae Young, it won't be because it's about the future. It'll be because LeBron thinks he can make it work right now. Anybody that comes in, it's about right now. It is one of the biggest flaws in the way Jeannie Buss, her thinking is. Everything is about right now. Everything is always tailored around your star. She never thinks about the future. She will mortgage the future if it's going to please LeBron James. Even if the Lakers don't end up winning anything and he eventually leaves and you have no picks, you have no stars, that's what it'll be. So I think that's how you have to look at it when you're dealing with LeBron. Everything is really built around him, his needs, what he wants. So any move towards the future, it would have to be a fit for now. You know what I'm saying? Like Anthony Davis obviously was a great trading piece, but you knew he's one of those kind of players that at some point if LeBron left, Anthony Davis is a great building block. But LeBron wanted him there to begin with. And I think you have to approach it that way.
And Mo, it's interesting because everything you said makes sense. LeBron right now, me, I need to do what's best for me, go get what I want. But then you look at what seems to be the trending direction for the Lakers, and that is they're going to bring JJ Redick in as their head coach, a head coach who has never coached before in the NBA. So then you ask yourself the logical question when you're focusing on the right now, when you're trying to win a championship next season and potentially the season afterwards to get LeBron to 5, is bringing in someone who has never coached before the best way to do that? Is that going to optimize your championship? And I'm not even going to say a championship window. I'm just going to call it a championship opportunity if you are the Los Angeles Lakers, because everything seems to be geared towards we need to appease LeBron. We need to win now. And sure, JJ Redick would probably be appeasing LeBron. It probably falls into this is what LeBron wants category. But is bringing in a JJ Redick, if you're talking about getting to a finals, is it almost counterproductive? Is it in some ways going to potentially hinder that, as opposed? And I don't know who the other option would be, Mo. I'm not saying there's a Hall of Fame caliber coach that just makes a million times more sense just standing there saying, pick me. But one would have to argue that anyone that has a track record in the NBA that has some playoff success or finals experience might be better suited for a team that's saying, we need one more run right now, as opposed to a complete rookie head coach.
We're in agreement. But at the same time, didn't we already know? We talked about this like last week. JJ Redick's going to be the coach of the Lakers. I know they're doing all these things about we're doing interviews and we're looking for a certain type of person. Like if you're doing interviews, then you're just basically taking guys out to dinner saying like, you're not going to get the job, but look, enjoy this meal, order whatever you want. I mean, that's pretty much what they did. We already knew he had the job, and he had the job. I don't care what anybody says, is because a certain person already had him in mind, right? Whether he always claims they have nothing to do with it or not, common sense tells you otherwise. You make a great point. No experience, but you're going around a star, a transcendent star, going into year 21, I believe, looking to get another title. And you bring in a rookie head coach. I don't care how smart JJ is, high basketball IQ, no argument there. He's never been on the floor or on the sidelines when things weren't going well and he had to come up with an idea or make an adjustment on the fly when 5 or 6 guys are coming at him going like, what the hell are you talking about? He's never had to deal with the personalities, which, by the way, is another big part of being an NBA coach, managing egos. He's getting ready to coach the biggest ego in the NBA. I think it's a horrible fit, but I will say this: Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka, they can set him up for success because the Lakers have a little bit of money going into this offseason. The Lakers have some tradable assets going into this offseason. They have some picks. So he's going to be set up for success better than Darvin Ham. They will bring in a third star. So Should he get off to a fast start and look better, and they look better early on? Absolutely. But I think when you start playing the better teams consistently, or even get towards the playoffs, I think the honeymoon wears off. And if they come up short, I wonder what the backlash will be, or if they struggle early, what the backlash will be. JJ is a coach for the future. I'm not arguing. I agree, but everything they're doing is for right now. And you said it. When LeBron leaves, the only way that JJ Redick is going to be good to go in LA going forward is that if they literally win it all this coming season. If JJ Redick has a title under his belt year one, anything that happens afterwards, he's got a honeymoon period. You know it, I know it. LeBron's going to leave, but they're going to be like, but Redick brought us a ring or something of that nature. Although it didn't help out Frank Vogel that much, but whatever.
Just saying.
but they weren't podcast bros, so it's totally different.
It is.
But yeah, that is my thinking is what you're thinking. We're bringing in Redick. We need to be making moves for a sustainable run beyond LeBron James' next couple of years. But Jeannie doesn't think that way, and if she doesn't think that way, Pelinka doesn't think that way.
Let's talk about the NBA Finals. NBA Finals are kicking off soon here, Mo. Let's agree, and you can disagree if you would like, but I would like you to agree that the top 4 players in this series are Jaylen Brown, and no particular order. Jaylen Brown, Kyrie Irving, Luka, and Tatum. Can we agree on that?
Absolutely.
Okay. So despite how you want to rank those 4 players, if you look at the top 4 players in this series, you're going to say 2 are on the Celtics and 2 are on the Mavericks. I want to talk about what happens after those names. So after you have those 4 names, who is the 5th best player in this series?
I'm going to say Drew Holiday.
Okay. Who's after Drew?
Derek White.
Who's after White?
Well, depending on his health, probably Porzingis.
So we agree that after you get the top 4 and the 2 stars from each team, the Celtics have the next 3, right?
At least, yeah, for sure.
So at what point is a Dallas player going to be on that list outside of Luka and Kyrie?
I think right after that, you'd bring in either Gafford or Derek Lively. They're both very impactful. That matter of fact, you might put them back to back, and then I guess after that would be another Celtic. It would be Al Horford, right?
Where's PJ Washington?
I would have him probably. I'd actually have him probably slightly ahead of Al Horford. He is going to be so key for this series because they're going to need him to make those corner threes because they'll get a lot of opportunities when Luka or Kyrie penetrate. So I think in terms of importance, he matters. But you're talking about ranking them as the players that they are. I'd rank him definitely behind, obviously, Holiday, White. I would put Lively and Gafford more important because of what they do at the rim on both ends, and then PJ Washington.
So when you're looking at the series as a whole, Mo, we can all agree that if you take the 7 best players in this series and 5 of them belong to the Boston Celtics, on paper, how does this even go past 5 games?
Because you got to play the games, right? Like we're going by pure numbers, but only 5 guys can be on the floor at the same time. And Luka and Kyrie, they're kind of cheat codes in their own right. So if you just go, well, he guards Kyrie and he guards Luka, that sounds good. But then you actually have to guard them and everything that they bring to the table. Luka's ability to draw fouls. He's terrific playing through contact, and you can't speed him up. Kyrie's just his great shot making ability, his ability to penetrate, finish either hand around the basket. They can just do things that a lot of guys can't do. This is going to be a series because Luka and Kyrie have to play the way they played in the conference finals. If it's going to be a series, they have to be those 2 guys. Anything less than that, this won't be a series.
So final prediction, Mo. You said Boston last time we talked about it. Are you still on Boston, and how many games?
Yeah, I'm going with the Celtics. I'm going with the Celtics in 7. I still think it could be a great series because I do think that as Luka and Kyrie go, the greater impact a guy like Gafford, Lively, and PJ Washington go because they get opportunities because of the actions of Luka and Kyrie?
I'm going Mavs in 6. I think
Mavs
that
in
Dallas
6.
I think that Dallas wins game 1.
Wow.
And I think it completely throws Boston off kilter. I think Boston has too many ghosts, and losing game 1. Now, I completely changed my pick if Boston wins game 1. If Boston wins game 1, I think all bets are off. If they feel themselves, they're good. But I really think that Boston is one of those teams where if they get behind the 8 ball a little bit, everyone's going to start chirping, oh, this is what we saw a couple years ago with Golden State. This is the team that it's all in front of them and they can't close the deal. Where did Tatum go in the 4th? It's all going to start popping up. And I think things can start to implode on them pretty quickly. And let's not forget, they have 2 of the 4 best players, but I don't think they have the best player. I think Luka is the best player on the floor. And I think if Luka and Kyrie see blood in the water, especially early in the series, I think they're going to pounce.
Look, to be fair, when Gene and I touched on this the other day, I said it. I said my pick was Celtics in 7, but I said what you just said. If Dallas won game 1, that changes everything. If Dallas comes in and I'm going to do the Tim Langler. I reserve the right to change my pick if the Mavs win game 1.
Fair enough.
Because I think everything you said is on point. If they lose game 1, how can that not creep into your head if you're Tatum, if you're Brown, anybody that was there for the series, including Al Horford, that has to sink into your head. Now, the upside is Derek White wasn't there. Drew Holiday wasn't there. They're both proven veterans, so they're not shaky. Drew's won a title, so maybe Drew's the guy that steers the ship steady when they do get shaky.
Speaking of him, let's get Gene up in here. We got some football things to talk, and if we are going to discuss football on a Wednesday, we need the NFL genius himself. Welcome, Gene, to the stage. Gene, how are you this morning, brother?
Feeling great. Playoff win last night. Going to the chip. I got to check out some pop culture phenomenon last night. I'm normally not up that late, but that was fun. I feel great, though.
Gene was strolling those TikTok streets late last night.
You got to be careful about them TikTok streets because they're mean up in there sometimes. Man,
you got to let the adrenaline calm down after a playoff softball game at 10 o'clock at night. So, you can't go to bed right away. So I scroll through. I see Chris up there. He's having a great time. I'm like, let me play in and watch some of this.
It was a good time for sure. Gene, sports fans are prisoners of the moment. Things happen and there's always these narratives that have to go along with it. And one of the narratives that has to go along with a big contract is this idea that the entire market has been reset. And sometimes that's true. Sometimes when a big player gets a big contract, when it comes to other big players, the market has been reset. Well, the narrative right now is that CMC has reset the running back market because he just got himself the bag. And Gene, I poked around this morning because I was like, surely I'm going to find a bunch of people who don't agree with this because I think this is the stupidest thing I've heard this morning because he is literally one of one, Gene. How can he reset the running back market when the position itself is solely undervalued and devalued, and he is literally a unicorn at the position? But again, I looked at some of the respectable names that we hang out with in these spaces, and they're all saying the same things. He reset the running back market. Did he actually reset the running back market with his deal?
No, because he's different. And the way he catches the ball, the way he runs the ball, what he's asked to do in San Francisco, it's not comparable, right? So when you're resetting the market, you have to look at it this way. All right, so if I'm a running back up for a contract, let's think of a young running back that might be up for a contract soon. Okay, statistically, am I catching the ball like Christian McCaffrey? Am I scoring touchdowns like Christian McCaffrey? Am I running yards per carry like Christian McCaffrey? Do I run for as many yards as Christian? Am I as big of a factor on my offense as Christian McCaffrey? Well, no, you can't reset the market because that would be like saying Patrick Mahomes reset the quarterback market. Well, no one's better than him. He didn't reset the market. So if you choose to pay him more, you're just overpaying. So
Right.
That's not called resetting the market. I also think that contract, when you break it down fully, it's fun. It's fun to look at. San Francisco made that deal for this year and next year. That was called, I'm going to keep Christian McCaffrey happy so he can give me everything he has for the next 2 years during what we believe is our best chance of a Super Bowl run. Because that contract is backloaded with a $25 million cap hit at the end of it, and all the dead money is at the end of that contract. They're not planning on him finishing that contract. They're planning on trying to win a Super Bowl in the next 2 years and keeping their best and most important asset happy. They don't want him running out there and be like, my hamstring's a little tight today, quad's a little sore, not going to play today. They don't want that. They want him to be able to be what he's been for them the last 2 years.
And Gene, when we talk about someone getting paid, we have to look at the rest of the team and just ask the question, is anyone going to be unhappy about that? Is anyone going to be asking where is theirs next? And that does hold true for the San Francisco 49ers. Is there any impact on Deebo and Ayuk? We know that Ayuk thinks that he's the reason they go to Super Bowls. He said so after the Super Bowl. Let's not forget what got you here, guys. That's what he was posting out there on social media. And then we know that Deebo also somewhat of a unicorn himself. He holds himself in high esteem. What is the impact of the trickle-down effect of this deal on the other two offensive stars on that team?
I want to say this out loud because I feel like I'm one of one on my island. I think the most overrated running back in the NFL, the most overrated wide receiver in the NFL is Brandon Ayuk. I think he is so overrated. It's actually funny. And the fact that he thinks he's the reason that, I'm not kidding when I tell you this. This is not a joke. I think he might be the 11th most important player. I did the math this morning. I think he might be the 11th most important player on the San Francisco 49ers. He's gone. I think he's gone. I think this deal signals he's gone. Deebo Samuel has nothing to complain about. He just got paid. He's fine. We have no issue there. But I think Brandon Ayuk is gone, and I think you'll find out when he gets traded just how replaceable he was. I don't think that San Francisco misses a beat. And I honestly, truly believe he's got to be the most overrated wide receiver in football.
I mean, Mo, you've seen him. He plays for your team. He's a good wide receiver. But, Mo, we've talked about this before. You know, you can be a number one something on one team, and then you go out into the NFL landscape, and you're just not that. Right, Mo?
No agreement. I think Gene is on point. Brandon Ayuk is a good wide receiver. He's not a dominant, game-shifting, game-changing wide receiver. He's the best wide receiver on the Niners, but he's not a better football player, not even in the realm of a Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuels is one of the best football players in the NFL, but he has a very unique skill set. I don't think they value Ayuk like they value Deebo because of the way their offense is run. So I don't, and be honest, if he walks, I don't think it changes anything they do offensively at all.
No, I agree. Gene, we had this conversation yesterday. Don't know if you saw it or not, but CJ Stroud was asked about NFL careers and NFL legacies, and he was given two quarterbacks to kind of choose from. He was given Eli Manning and Aaron Rodgers, and he was basically asked if you could pick one of those careers and you could basically mirror it, who would you pick? He picked Eli Manning. Obviously, Eli has two chips. So we all look at it and go, well, that makes sense. He wants 2 Super Bowl rings. Aaron only has 1. Mo and I talked about it yesterday, and we both said, well, we get it, but Aaron's also got, 3 MVPs. We think he's going to be in the conversation of greatest all-time quarterback, 30 years from now, just in the conversation. We don't think Eli's going to ever be in that conversation. So we chose Aaron. If you were presented with the same question, would you go Aaron or would you go Eli?
It's a smart answer for CJ Stroud. And here's the thing that everyone neglects to talk about. As a leader of a football team, you're supposed to want to win more than you want accolades.
Sure.
So for him to answer the question the way he answered it is actually highly intelligent. Speaks to CJ Stroud's intelligence level. Yeah, I would rather mimic the career of the guy that won 2 chips than 1. That's what you're telling your team. It doesn't matter how I look. It matters how the team looks. It matters if we win Super Bowls. But if you're asking me whose career I'd rather have, I don't know. I'd rather be a top 10 quarterback of all time. I'd rather be a multi-millionaire I would rather have Aaron Rodgers' career. I'd rather be a multiple-time MVP, and his career's not over, right? So Aaron could win a second Super Bowl this year, but it's not close to me. It's like asking, would you rather have Trent Dilfer's career or Dan Marino's? It really is. It's almost as, and I know it's not like as laughable because Eli is a borderline Hall of Famer, but like it's, to me, I'd rather be Dan Marino than Trent Dilfer. I'd rather be Aaron Rodgers than Eli Manning. It's not that close to me either.
Gene, is the Manning name going to get Eli the first ballot?
I don't think he'll be first ballot. I don't think he should be first ballot. I think if he is first ballot, you'll hear a lot of people saying it's the Manning name. But like, I think he's a fringe Hall of Famer. Like, and hear me out here. And maybe I'm not being a Giants hater when I say this. You win 2 Super Bowls, they're going to put you in the Hall of Fame. But like, statistically speaking, from 2000 on, he's a mediocre quarterback. He's not like generational. Real talk, when I ask this question, best season, would you rather have Matt Ryan's best season or Eli Manning's?
Matt Ryan's.
And it's like, when you look at that, like, yeah, Eli won. But like, Eli won games, I think it was 17-14 was one of the Super Bowls he won. That's like giving Tom Brady, like Tom Brady won that Super Bowl versus the Rams 13-3. No, the defense won that Super Bowl. Like, we don't say Trent Dilfer won the Super Bowl in 2000. We say the Ravens defense won the Super Bowl in 2000. I think that Eli Manning is a product of New York and winning 2 Super Bowls. And I think that he'll get Hall of Fame status because he won 2 Super Bowls. But comparing him to Ben Roethlisberger, who also won 2 Super Bowls, it's laughable. And nobody seems to think that Ben will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't.
Speaking of the New York Giants, your head coach, Nick Sirianni, he was talking a little bit about the New York Giants. And I'll be honest, I tried to find the entire clip. I found a good chunk of it. It seems like he kind of brought this up on his own. But maybe he didn't. Maybe he was asked earlier about the Giants and he was circling back to it. But it seems like he opened this door himself. And he was just talking about the fact that, being in Philadelphia and being so close to New York, he gets heckled out on the streets. Giants fans see him. They yell, "Go Giants, Big Blue," whatever he wants. And Nick was like, usually I just brush it off and I ignore it. But sometimes when they really get me good, I just remind them, we got your best player. And I look at that and I'll acknowledge I don't like Nick Sirianni. I think I've crossed that threshold. I just don't like him as a head coach. I think as a person, maybe he's probably great. But as a head coach, he does a lot of things where I'm like, I would never hire that as a head coach. So, Gene, I look at that, and I'm not trying to tear him apart here, but I'm going to ask you this question. What is the hot seat like for him in Philadelphia this season? Is there a hot seat? What is the expectation? What would need to happen for him to no longer be the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles? Because I don't think he's a guy where his personality is going to drastically change. I think what you see from him is basically what you're going to get. I think he might try to button up a little bit if he's told to, not even saying he's been told to. But what like if they miss the playoffs, obviously that's an issue. But if they make the playoffs and they win a playoff game, is he still the head coach next season? Like, do they need to get to an NFC championship game? Like, what is the vibe? You know the pulse of Philly. What are we feeling about Sirianni in Philly?
It's scorching hot. And what a lot of people don't realize is how close he was to being fired this offseason. They fired both his coordinators. They took his legs out. He went to a meeting with Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie and basically said, yeah, like, you guys can rebrand my offensive coordinator, my defensive coordinator. We're going to give full control of the offense to the offense coordinator. We're going to give full control of the defense to the defense coordinator. Someone needs to put a muzzle on Nick Sirianni. Like, just stop him from talking. I every time he talks to the media, I get frustrated. And it's because you look at the Super Bowl run they had, and the more and more you look at it, you understand it's lipstick on a pig. And what I see when I see that is, look at the Colts offense. And you tell me Shane Steichen didn't have to do with the Eagles offense that year. You tell me Shane Steichen didn't have to do with the growth of Jalen Hurts that year. Like, and Nick Sirianni as a whole lost the locker room last year. Completely lost the team. They didn't just collapse. They historically collapsed, and they collapsed and they quit. Why? Go watch. I'm not sure how much playoff football everyone watched. Go watch the playoff game versus Tampa Bay and tell me two things. How an offensive-minded coach doesn't understand how to beat the blitz.
Mm-hmm.
It was laughable. They're running stop routes to beat the blitz. You can't do that. Run drags, run crossers, run slants. And how tackling should never be an issue on a football team. Tackling is like rebounding in basketball. It's a will thing. Like, yes, there obviously is space to be able to grow as a talented tackler, but it's more of a will thing and putting your head down. James Bradbury quit in that playoff game. They quit in that playoff game. That is on the head coach. And if the Eagles look good this year, I won't give Nick credit. I'll say Kellen Moore fixed the offense. Vic Fangio fixed the defense. That's not a Nick thing. It's lipstick on a pig. And one of the worst things that can happen is if they make the NFC Championship game and lose, or if they make the Super Bowl and lose, because you'll be so enamored with Nick Sirianni making a Super Bowl. Kellen Moore's going to get a head coaching job somewhere, and you're in the same spot you were last year. Nick Sirianni needs to put a muzzle on it, and I think the Philadelphia Eagles should have moved on from this offseason, but we'll see how it goes. I'm not a fan. I'm not.
I mean, essentially what they did, Gene, is they brought in a head coach to run the defense, and they brought in a guy that should already have been a head coach, but he seems to be waiting for the right opportunity to do that as their offensive coordinator. Now, maybe he's the heir apparent there in Philly. Maybe it's a situation where Kellen steps in, but at the
what
same
situation,
time,
Chris? What situation could provide me a situation to where Kellen Moore can step into a head coach and you fire Nick Sirianni? Do they go 9-8 in the offense?
They start 0-4.
Oh, they fire him early.
Fire him early.
That's not a bad idea.
Gene goes, okay, I'll sign off on that.
He did.
Because it's like watching a basketball team that's in purgatory. Like, they're not good enough to compete for a championship, but they're not bad enough to get like a number 1 overall pick. It's like watching that when you know you have a head coach with his legs completely chopped out.
No, I agree. So you guys talked on Monday. You talked about Justin Jefferson. He reset the wide receiver market. He did some things with his deal. So, Gene, I want to talk to you about 3 names specifically. 2 of them are looking for deals right now. The other one just wants the money. And that's my guy. So I'm a little concerned about that. But he said some nice things the other day that made me like him a little more. So we're talking about CeeDee Lamb, Ja'Marr Chase, and Tyreek Hill. Tyreek is obviously under contract. It's basically a 2-year deal. His 3rd year on his current deal is a joke. It's like a $56.5 million cap hit or something ludicrous like that. So he knows the Dolphins are going to redo his deal in the next season or 2. And what he's looking at is when that deal gets redone, he wants the big money. Obviously, CeeDee Lamb wants the big money now. He's holding out. He's not coming to minicamp. And then Ja'Marr Chase has a new deal coming as well, Gene. Are any of those 3 going to get deals that eclipse Justin Jefferson? Or should any of them get a deal that eclipses Justin Jefferson? Or should he stay the top of the market?
It's so funny because if I rank those 3 receivers in their level of importance, I'd probably go Tyreek Hill, Ja'Marr Chase, CeeDee Lamb, like 1, 2, 3. But in the order of importance for their franchise, it completely flips.
Mm-hmm.
CeeDee Lamb is the most important piece to Dallas because if you don't have him, you really don't have anything.
Correct.
And I could look at Miami and go, well, I have Jalen Waddle. He's a superstar in the making, and I can sign a wide receiver. Ja'Marr, you got Ja'Marr, and I think you still have Joe Burrow. And we've seen how elite quarterback can make a team look at last year, what Patrick Mahomes did with his wide receiver group. But with Dak Prescott, you have a mediocre quarterback without a number 2 option. So CeeDee Lamb has Dallas 100% hamstrung, and I think CeeDee Lamb will end up getting the bag before the other 2. And I think he is the most impactful wide receiver in that scenario. Now, I will point out last year's playoff game versus Green Bay, CeeDee Lamb is a head case, and you'll see that he's showing up as quarterback on the field. if that is an indicator of what you're going to get from him, I hope Dallas signs him.
Gene, before we find out what's going on with Wire to Wire Sports tonight, I want maybe you know, maybe you've heard, but Mo and I have been starting this little revolution here on the morning show. It's Dak Prescott to the New York Jets. We are firm believers that Dak isn't going to re-sign with Dallas. We think that Dak's had enough with Dallas Cowboys, and if he becomes available, we think the New York Jets should embrace him with open arms. We just want to hear your opinion on that, Gene. Come on now. Dak to the Jets. Dak to the Jets.
This is a Miami Dolphins talk show host. What a way to keep the New York Jets in purgatory than signing a mediocre. That's exactly. Chris is starting the wave now, knowing that I don't have to worry about Buffalo. I won't have to worry about the Jets if that happens. I think what the New York Jets need to do is they need to go out and sign a young quarterback. Maybe I'm just such a fanboy. I keep bringing his name up, but Justin Fields has 1 year left on his contract. Someone's going to sign him next year. There's a lot of guys that you can go out there and sign, or you can draft a young quarterback. But I think the exit plan after Aaron Rodgers isn't to go out and sign Dak Prescott to $55 million, because that's what he's going to command. And if you sign Dak Prescott to $55 million, you can just say, listen, you can book your travel plans for February that you can go to Cancun on 3. 1, 2, 3, Cancun, because you're not going to the Super Bowl with Dak Prescott making $55 million.
If Dak is not in Dallas next season, where is he?
I don't know. I really, it's a good question, but I don't know. I think that the best answer for that would be Tampa, because I don't know if the Baker Mayfield experiment lasts much longer and you have a structure and a system that could fit Dak. You have a defensive-minded head coach. You have a wide receiver 1 over there, Mike Evans. That's a big target. I think that Tampa could be the option. Now, I'd say New Orleans, but if you want to talk about cap hell,
yeah,
Derek Carr has the New Orleans Saints in cap hell. But I would look at the NFC South.
All right, Gene, what's going on with Wire to Wire Sports tonight?
Listen, and this is one of those fun things I'd love to keep bringing up. I love that the WNBA is constantly getting talk and action.
Yep.
I love it. And it's great for women's sports. We're going to have a very vibrant discussion about Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, the WNBA as a whole, the Stephen A. Smith conversation happened. Man, he literally puts his foot in his mouth every opportunity he gets to. But we're going to have a spirited debate about that. We got to preview the NBA Finals on Wire to Wire. We haven't done that yet. It's a full preview. We're going to recap a UFC card that I thought was very awful outside the last fight. But we got a lot to get into, and we're going to open it up a little bit. We got a little trivia tonight. I'm trying to follow your path on the phenomenal.
I see that.
This week, Cottrell, because Cottrell lost. Cottrell came up with the trivia question for me and Bill, and we'll see if Bill can hold the title the next week.
All right, Gene. We appreciate you coming on. We'll see you tonight. All right.
Appreciate you guys. Take care.
Mo, so I'm sure you've heard the boxing match of the century.
Oh no,
it's been postponed. I know Mike Tyson has some medical stuff going on. He is not able to train for the next 6 to 8 weeks. Or 4 to 6.
Medical stuff going on. It's called old age. He's been had that going on.
So it's put on hold. I think Friday. I think tomorrow. Or not tomorrow, in 2 days, they're going to announce the new date for the fight. But right now, it's on hold indefinitely because he needs some time to heal up and then get back into his training regiment. But Mo, I want to talk to you about this. So a lot of people in the boxing world, a lot of people who know the sport and have been involved in the sport and have covered the sport, they give Jake Paul a lot of criticism for who he chooses to fight. And I saw a take on this, and you would know this better than I would, so I'm going to present it to you. I saw a take on this, and the take was, well, take any great fighter. Even take Mike Tyson, for example, and go back and look at who Mike Tyson fought in his first 10 fights. Look at who Mike says this would be Jake's 10th fight. So look at who Mike Tyson fought in his first 10 fights. Look at who Mike Tyson fought in his 10th fight. You don't, as an up-and-coming boxer, the point was, Mo, you don't just say out of the gate, I want the top guy.
Right.
You don't just say out of the gate, okay, these are the top 10 best in the world. Give me number 5 and let's start there. You got to build it up. You got to build up. You got to build yourself up. You got to kind of figure out your own game and what's going on in there and work your way up to those marquee matchups. Now, you can look at what Jake is doing and say, okay, Chris, he can do that and fight people his own age. I hear you. I hear what you're saying. But whether it's a 60-year-old Mike Tyson or a 25-year-old nobody that's, 2-8 or 2-12 in their professional boxing career, I would argue that at least with Mike Tyson, if he knocks out Mike Tyson, it's going to grab more headlines than if he knocks out Philip Patrick, who no one knows from Joe or Anna or anyone else. So I understand the narrative of, oh, he's just picking old guys to fight. He's picking up washed up UFC. I think he's just picking name recognition, Mo, as opposed to picking no names and doing well against no. Am I seeing this wrong? Like, I'm not saying he's ever going to get to a point where he's going to be the caliber that's going to take on the best in the world. I don't know the boxing game well enough to project that. But if you're just talking about the fact of, well, he's fighting people he's probably going to beat, isn't that what good boxers tend to do early in their careers when they realize they're pretty good? They kind of line up fights that they think they're going to do okay in?
I mean, that's always been the pattern. I think Mike Tyson, for example, was well into double-digit knockouts before he actually faced a top 10 heavyweight. It happens, right? That's what they do. They bring them along, and then gradually you up the ante. Look, I think a lot of people forget that Paul is also he's a content creator who transitioned into boxing.
Right.
He is a professional boxer, and yes, he's been selective in who he's fought. But I think that that's what you do when you jump into boxing and you haven't been doing it since you were 17 or 18. Like a lot of guys have been doing it since they were 14 or 15 or earlier in the Golden Gloves. That's not the case with him. So I understand why he's done that. Look, Floyd Mayweather is one of the greatest of all time. But if you look at some of the back end of the fights that he fought, he selectively picked people for a reason because he knew that he would beat them. I think we all remember him fighting Conor McGregor. Was there anybody ever thinking that Conor McGregor was going to win that fight? Absolutely not. And that, so I understand that. I don't understand the heat that Paul's taking. Maybe he's one of those guys. He and his brother are just naturally unlikable.
I think so. Their faces. You want to hate
them. They're very popular, yet they're unlikable. They're those guys. And that it could be just that simple. But I think they both kind of embrace that. Oh, you don't like me, but you're going to tune in to watch me because you don't like me and you want to see me get beat up. I understand, and I'm with you. If you knock out Mike Tyson, even though he's well past his prime, that's a huge name recognition, and that's going to be a huge something that you can hold on to for the next fight. Right when he goes to the next fight, it's gonna give him more credibility, whether you want to see this fight or not. And I'm in the not. I don't have a problem with Jake Paul selectively picking his opponents because he's in the early stages of his career. Even though he started it late, it doesn't matter where you started. If you're early in your career as a professional boxer, you know who he shouldn't fight right out the gate? He shouldn't fight somebody like a Tyson Fury or somebody of that nature because he would probably get knocked out inside of 2 rounds. So you have to build up and you have to hone your skills as you're building up and upping the ante. So his criticism to me, and we just agreed on it, is more about the dislike that he and his brothers have gotten over the years as being content creators.
And doesn't this almost like set up a situation, Mo, where like he's coming along and there's no number. You mentioned Tyson was well into double digits before he really faced someone that could have been a legitimate threat to giving him some trouble in the boxing ring. Isn't this almost a situation where if you're Paul and you're just kind of coming along, aren't you almost just always keeping an eye on the boxing landscape, being like, if something fluky happens and there's an upset and someone takes a belt that maybe, they had a good night and no one thought they were going to pull it out, and they did. But I might be able to beat that guy.
Right.
Like, isn't that almost what you're kind of looking for? That in to be like, this is the moment. If he was ever going to have a moment, let's get him this fight because he could win this fight. Isn't that what it seems like they're almost which is smart, is it not?
I actually think that's his plan all along. I've thought that from the jump. He's looking at the landscape and he's looking to, because something fluky does happen in boxing. Boxing is the one sport where the better guy, if you get caught, you get caught and get dropped. I just saw Deontay Wilder get dropped by a guy I never heard of him, and he got dropped. And I think that's exactly what Paul is thinking. Like, this guy's gonna win, and I'm gonna fight this guy, but I can beat this guy, and I don't know how long it's gonna last, but I'm gonna be the heavyweight of the world for a minute. And and you know, if he wins a belt, he is going to milk it dry for the next year or so, and people are going to hate him that much more. And he's gonna just bring in the dollars left and right, guaranteed. I'm with you. I think that is his. If you want to call it a long-term plan, I think that's the long-term plan.
And then at that point, doesn't the cycle begin all over again? Because once you're a champion, you're gonna kind of start handpicking. You're gonna handpick those first couple defenses.
Oh yeah,
because you want to build it up and you want to build up your reign. So you're gonna take some easy ones, or I'm giving the kid a chance, whatever it is, however you want to spin it.
I can remember when I was coming up, but I just wanted a chance, like, yeah, give this guy a chance.
So he could stretch it out into a decent reign, and then eventually he'll lose it and whatnot. But at that point, Mo, like you said, whatever weight division it was, whatever the name of the belt is, I don't know all the boxing titles. I know there's a bunch of them out there, but he was a champion. He was a champion in the boxing world. And you can't take that away from him.
You cannot. Look what his brother's already doing in the wrestling world. He's a champion. Mm-hmm. I think they're both going to be wearing belts at some point.
And man, the content they're going to create, let me tell you.
Oh man. And we call it heat/hate they're going to get.
Speaking of WWE, that is where we are going to close right now. It has been confirmed through back channels that the working theory right now, Mo, is that Roman Reigns is coming back in July. Roman Reigns is supposed to come back sometime in July. He's going to start the build to SummerSlam, which makes sense as we have seen the new look of the Bloodline on TV. We have seen Paul Heyman's role in the Bloodline, where he is now vocally going out into the ring and almost talking out against the Bloodline, not aligning himself with Solo, but he called Solo thugs this past weekend, this past Friday on SmackDown. He said the Bloodline are thugs right now. He is definitely not holding them in the high regard he did when Roman was the head of the table, which almost is going to, and I think you probably know where we're going here, Mo. It's setting up a Paul Heyman beatdown. And who would save Paul Heyman in that situation but the tribal chief himself, which means we're getting ready for the Roman face turn. Are you here for it? Because he was the heel of all heels for the better part of 4 years. And he's going to take a few months off. And we knew where we were going. We knew it was going to come, but now we're weeks away from it. Are you on board with what looks like is going to be the Roman Reigns face return?
Yeah, I'm here for it. I am here for it. I think it's going to be an amazing run. Now, look, when it's all said and done, do I think he's going to remain a face? I don't.
No.
I don't. But I think he can have a long run for it, and he's got the right opposition to make him look like a great face. So I think it's going to be – I think you're on point. Heyman's going to take a beat down, and look who shows up.
And again, to your point, you can be a face in certain situations, and family business is family business. Family business is not the rest of WWE business. True. So, he can look like a hero when he's saving Paul Heyman, but when the dust settles, like you said, I think we're still going to have the Roman that we've seen the past couple of years. And I think they're going to milk that and make us think that we have a brand new version of Roman.
Right.
And then we're going to find out real quick that we have the same old Roman, which, by the way, we all love deep down inside.
I know I do. I'm on board. Look. I think he and when he lets you know it's the same old Roman, he's gonna do like you said, Chris. That was about family business. Now I'm getting
Right.
back to business. Right.
Now this is my business. Mo, great show on a Wednesday. Take us to the end, sir.
Hey guys, make sure you check out all the great content that we have with the Wire to Wire Network. Wire to Wire Network, we appreciate you.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. We are talking, well, we got JG here, so we're talking a little Major League Baseball. We are going to be talking NBA Finals, and we got some more football stuff. All of that and more. Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show, powered by Wire